90, that's it. That's the number that trips up more American retirees than exchange rates, jet lag, and a lost luggage combined. 90 days in Europe, then the clock kicks you out. And if you don't understand exactly how the clock works, you can end up flagged at a border, fined, or banned from re entering for years. I've seen it happen to a couple who thought I'll just pop over to Switzerland for 2 weeks, would reset their count. It doesn't. Nothing resets, it's except time. So if you're planning retirement seasons in Portugal, a summer in Italy, or just want to bounce between Provence and the Amalfi Coast without a lawyer, stay with me. I'm going to walk through exactly how the Schengen Zone works for Americans right now in the second half of 2026, including two systems that just went live and one that's about to. Welcome to Eagle Flight, where your new life starts here. Quick reset because people get this wrong constantly. The Schengen zone isn't the EU. It's not even close to the same thing. Schengen is a border free travel area, 29 countries right now, where you cross from, say, France into Germany without even showing a passport at a land border. As of 2026, the full list is Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. Notice Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein are there. None of these are EU members. And notice Ireland is not on the list, even though it's in the EU. Cyprus isn't in Schengen either. It's still working towards membership, with the council vote expected sometime this year, but it hasn't happened yet. Bulgaria and Romania are the newest full members. They completed the process on January 1, 2025. So if you're counting days, time spent in Sofia or Bucharest counts exactly the same as time spent in Paris. One zone, one clock. That's the part that catches people. Here's the rule: as a US passport holder, you can spend up to 90 days inside the Schengen zone within a rolling 180-day period. The word that matters is rolling. This isn't a calendar reset on January 1st. It's a sliding window that looks back 180 days from whatever today's date is. So, on any given day, an immigration officer or the automated system now doing this math for them counts backwards 6 months and adds up every day you are physically present anywhere inside those 29 countries. Say that again with numbers: 30 days in France in March, 30 days in Italy in June, 30 days in Spain in August. That's 90 days used, and it doesn't matter that you left and re entered three separate times. The counter doesn't care about your trips, it cares about the days inside the zone versus days outside of it. The mistake I mentioned earlier, hopping to Switzerland thinking it resets you, happens because Switzerland is inside Schengen too. You didn't leave the zone, you just moved to a different room in the same house. To actually reset the clock, you need days genuinely outside the Schengen. The UK, Ireland, Croatia doesn't count anymore since it joined fully in 2023. Morocco, Turkey, or simply home. Overstay even one day and you're looking at fines that vary by country, a mark in your travel record, and in serious cases, your entry ban that runs 1 to 3 years. Border agents check this now with the far less room for a shrug or an apology they used to have. This is the part that's brand new, and it directly affects how the 90-day count gets tracked. The EU has replaced manual passport stamping with something called EES, the Entry and Exit System. It started rolling out gradually in October 2025 and became fully operational at every Schengen border crossing on April 10, 2026. That means, as of right now, this system is live everywhere you'll be traveling. What it means practically, instead of a border officer flipping to a blank page and stamping it, you'll register biometrically fingerprints, a facial photo, the first time you enter under the new system. That record is tied to your passport and stored for 3 years. Every entry and exit after that gets logged automatically, which means the 90 by 180 calculation is no longer something you eyeball by counting stamps in your passport. It's done for you precisely by computer. The good news: no more squinting at faded ink trying to remember if that stamp was July 3rd or July 8th. Less good news, it also means there's no more gray area. The system knows to the day. Build in a buffer. I'll say don't plan to use more than 85 of your 90 days if you can help it. Because a delayed flight home that pushes you one day over is now a data point and not a judgment call. One practical note: first time registration takes longer at the border. If you're arriving during peak season, July, August, budget extra time and don't book a tight connection for your first EES crossing. Before we go ahead with the remaining content, if you're getting value and enjoying this video and want to stay updated on the latest opportunities to living and traveling abroad and learn about the exciting options to retiring or migration, click the subscribe button and turn on notifications. YouTube will ensure you get notified when we publish the next insightful content. Now back to the video. Separately from the EES, there's the ETIAS, the European Travel Information and Authorization System. Think of it as Europe's version of the US ESTA that Europeans already need before flying to America. ETIAS is expected to launch for US travelers in the fourth quarter of 2026. It's a pre travel authorization, not a visa. You apply online, pay around €20, and it's valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. Here's the detail that actually matters for anyone planning travel this year. There's a 6 months transitional period after launch where you can still cross without it if you meet every other entry condition, followed by a further 6 months grace period with narrower expectations. Realistically, full mandatory enforcement doesn't land until sometime in 2027. And to be clear on the one point people keep conflating, ETIAS does not change the 90 by 180-day rule. It's a separate gate you'll walk through before the 90-day clock even starts. Get authorized and you're still capped at 90 days and 180, same as always. For a lot of retirees, 90 days is plenty. A spring in Portugal, home for the holidays, back in the fall. But if you're picturing something more permanent, the 90 days and 180 days rule isn't really the obstacle. It's a different conversation entirely. A national long stay visa, sometimes called a D visa, issued by one specific country rather than the Schengen bloc as a whole. Portugal's version is the D7, often nicknamed the retirement visa, and it becomes one of the more accessible options. As of this year, the minimum passive income requirement sits at €920 a month, roughly €11,040 annually, and that figure rises for a spouse or dependents. It lets you actually live in Portugal rather than just visit it, provided you spend a bulk of the year there. Spain has its own version, the non lucrative visa, but the income bar is considerably higher, figures somewhere around €2,400 a month, well over double Portugal's threshold. Italy has its elective residency visa, and France has its long stay visitor visa, both aimed at the same kind of applicant, someone with steady, provable income who isn't planning to work locally. Every one of these comes with its own paperwork, health insurance mandate, processing timeline, and there's genuinely different applications to genuinely different governments. A Portugal D7 visa doesn't give you the right to live in Spain or vice versa. If your retirement plan is several months a year indefinitely, the 90 days and 180-day rule is the whole story. If it's I want to actually move there, start researching a specific country's national visa now because the processing can take months. A few things that catch retirees specifically. Travel insurance isn't optional the way it might feel optional at home. Schengen entry requirements have long called for coverage of at least €30,000 in medical costs, including repatriation. And given that this is exactly the age group most likely to actually need that coverage, don't treat it as a checkbox. Get a policy that's genuinely usable, not the cheapest one that technically satisfies the requirement. Passport validity. Check the date now, not the week before you fly. Standard rule across the Schengen is your passport needs to be valid for at least 3 months beyond your planned departure date from the zone, and it needs to be issued within the last 10 years. And keep records. A simple spreadsheet or even a phone note logging every entry and exit date is worth 10 minutes now versus a stressful conversation at the border later. Yes, EES is tracking it automatically, but having your own count means you'll catch a problem before an officer does. The Schengen Zone isn't complicated once you see it as one thing instead of many. One 90-day allowance, one rolling 180-day window. Tracked automatically now by a system that went fully live this April. With the travel authorization arriving later this year, that doesn't change any of the math. Plan around the 90, not around the individual country borders. But as far as that clock is concerned, they are not borders at all. If you're weighing Portugal against Spain, against a long stay visa somewhere else entirely, tell me which country in the comments. I'm working on a deeper comparison of the retirement visa options next. If this was useful, a thumbs up takes 2 seconds and helps us reach more retirees and families like yourself who need to hear it. Until next time, spread your wings and fly.